Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Big League Breakdowns for episode 69
Nice.
of the
Children.
podcast. As we are into regular season baseball, the 162 schedule has started, and the boys, after our grinding offseason, are finally back to talk what has really happened in the first week of baseball, all the storylines that have happened on and off the field. My name is Tyler, your host. My co-host for this one, Will and John, Bobby, our producer, and that lovely Lincoln Park hat. Just
See them in August, baby. Let's go.
I'm so pumped. On a side note,
They,
so
they
not the
haven't they
real
haven't
Linkin
dropped a
Park.
bad song yet. Oh, don't you start with me.
Oh
Don't
wait,
you
we're
start
gonna
with
have a
me.
we're gonna have a
We're fighting after
non-related
this.
fight.
We're fighting after this.
But yeah, we're gonna talk about everything that has kind of come out in the first week of the season.
Well, if you want to be honest, it's been like 3 weeks because of that series
Oh
overseas.
yeah, of course. Well,
Stanford.
I guess I'll start with this. I do want to say a thank you to you guys. We did pass 100 subscribers with our after our 30 day oh my God, around the league in 30 days. I still don't have that down.
You're out of
He did
practice.
it
You're
30
fine.
episodes and he just couldn't.
After
he just couldn't.
You're allowed to be
after
out of practice.
after our run the league in 30 days, we just hit it. So appreciate that. Love the support, and hopefully we can continue to grow this so we can have a community, have some discussions, and just talk baseball.
The algorithm's gonna love us now.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, they are. They're like, wow, they're
YouTube's
posting
gonna
every
go,
day.
what?
They're posting every day. Now they're posting every 2 weeks. Wow. No, hopefully not every 2 weeks. But yeah, let's get into this one. Starting with the it seemed like it was gonna be like an epidemic for a little while there. The first couple of days, the first game of the season, really, and then it's kind of slowed down. But the Torpedo Bats, after the Yankees hit not one, not two, not three. How many was it? How many? It wasn't
It
like
was
nine,
nine in
nine
that
home
one
runs.
game,
Yeah,
and
nine
they've
home
had
runs.
what, like
Uh,
19 or something to this
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Three straight on 3 straight pitches against that mediocre fuck Nestor Cortez.
Yeah, against their
How do you
old
really
buddy.
feel?
Against their old buddy Nestor
Overrated.
Cortez. A lot has been made of this, and I guess we can also discuss, like, is it because it's the Yankees and is it because it's
100%.
Sean can
brought
take
up.
that argument.
But, like,
100%. I guarantee you, if this was like the Rockies doing this, everybody'd be like, oh, good for the Rockies. They actually figured out how to hit. But
Yeah, I
because
mean-
it's the Yankees, it became like, is this legal? Is this a thing? What's
Yeah.
going on?
I mean, and truth be told, like, there was players using this back in 2024. Like, it's not new. It just so happened that, the game that the Yankees went berserk, they had noticed it and said it on the broadcast, and of course, social media absolutely ran with it. But yes, if you're not familiar with what we're talking about, essentially, it's the wood in the bat is put more toward the middle, so it's more on the sweet spot. So you're gonna get more reliable contact, as opposed to hits off the end of the bat. There really isn't any stats per se to support it helping in a sense. And now there is some stats I was reading about, like Giancarlo Stanton, that last year I think he used it, and he like
Postseason, I think it was.
yeah, and he had increased his
Huh.
yeah. That's funny how that. But he
Interesting on that
he
one.
was like
He's also said that he thinks the bat led to his elbow injuries.
really interesting.
I
So
think he made some type of a comment. It was because when I
okay.
first heard about the torpedo that for the Yankees, they were saying everyone that did it, and I'm pretty sure that one of the things, at least in the article I read, take it with a grain of salt if you want, because I haven't heard anything about it since, though I'm pretty sure it was on MLB.com. There was like a little paragraph or something or 2 lines that was saying that Stanton was potentially hinting that he thought maybe the torpedo bats had somehow been a part of his elbow injuries.
I mean, it could,
That
because
doesn't make sense.
no, but the thing was I think he increased his like bat speed by like I want to say like 9 miles per hour or something, or maybe it wasn't that much, but it was like he jumped to like the top percentile of like bat speed once he
So the
switched
bat
to
would
it.
was
say it
so
makes it a
light,
little lighter.
he swung around and snapped his elbows.
It could,
For a guy that can't run anymore, I think he's made out of glass.
I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't really make sense, but it kind of makes sense in a way. Like,
Does it make sense that the contact is when you make contact with the ball, it might hurt a little bit more because you're talking about a lot more mass that's making contact with the ball.
I mean, he's
like,
probably the
center-wise.
best sense of a sample size you have out of anyone. I know we said that some people supposedly used it last year, at least in bits and pieces. I don't know who. I don't know how long. I
Ryan,
don't know
I
how
don't say
consistent. Stanton's the
Ryan.
only one that I heard that he did it throughout the postseason. So that's a month at least.
Yeah.
But I mean, from what I've been told, it makes it lighter. By moving the mass more towards the sweet spot. At least the idea is that the players that are using it on the Yankees are players that know they hit in that spot a lot, so therefore they get more advantage with those balls that they swing and hit in that spot in the bat, getting more of a chance to have some pop in it. I don't know about the mass situation. I don't know if there's a slight mechanic thing that maybe
It's also
a thing
designed for each hitter as well.
Yes, where
So
Yes, you can.
my
The
sweet
idea
spot
is-
is going to be different than your sweet spot.
Right, and I think Bellinger was the situation I heard about that, where he was using a like in between kind of what the torpedo bat is versus the regular bat because of where his sweet spot was.
Yeah, and then I think you have like Jazz Chisholm, who his bat, it literally looks like a torpedo. Like it has
his
the
looks like the
shape
picture.
of a torpedo.
Yeah.
I think it's actually more exaggerated than that picture because if I remember correctly,
it was, or at least it looked like
there's
it.
a knob on the end of his, almost like a little like ring.
I'm gonna find it.
Well, it's probably the typical bat ring that sometimes pops up near the end. It's just because of how the bat
this
is
was
shaped. You mean something different? Type
no,
of
this
ring?
was on the end of his bat.
Yeah.
Like, and that may have just been the angle of the picture or something like that. That maybe it was just fooling me, but his literally looked like a torpedo.
Yeah, it looked like a bowling pin almost, like too. Like
Basically.
I don't know. I mean,
Nah, neither.
See, it
It's
doesn't-
the black. I
it's-
mean, yeah, that's it. But there was a black bat used during the game.
it's
I
a
think
two-tone bat
over-
and it's over his shoulder.
over his shoulder. Yeah, over his
Yeah,
shoulder.
let me look.
I mean,
But-
so referring back to, so I think it was Ryan Jeffers, the catcher for the Twins, that said he has been using it.
Your hero.
Or yeah, my hero. That he used it last year. He actually said a quote that I can relate to with this, which was like, pitchers are getting better. Like new pitchers are being invented. Like it basically has taken us.
that.
Yeah, like that looks crazy. But it might be the angle too. I
I wouldn't
really
call
know.
that a ring. I would just say that's got some shine because of the angle. But
Okay,
I
then
kinda see what
that,
you
clearly
mean.
that's just the
It's
shine.
also
and you're
ripped
right
from a
but-
TV broadcast, so it's been cooked. a
Well,
little
either
bit.
way, you can
It's
still
still- yeah,
see
it's
that it
weird.
literally looks like a torpedo.
It looks like the bottom
Oh,
of
yeah.
a bowling pin to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Jeffers was like, we've invented all these new pitchers. It only has taken us like 100 years to create a new bat. And it is kind of funny to me that like this is what it took. And again, I think it is kind of being blown out of proportion because it's the Yankees. But like, I don't know, do you guys like feel that this discussion about torpedo bats like this week is the biggest it's going to get, or is there like actually going to be a discussion about like, do these give them an advantage, and then does that translate to, do these need to be banned? Like I feel like part of me is almost like, I feel like this week is the most we're going to hear about it, and then now it's going to be like, yeah,
Hold on. The off season, if the Yankees do really well, is going to be insufferable.
Well, so here I would have said at the beginning when the news broke that it was going to be something that was a little more drawn out because there would have been signs that the Yankees supposedly maybe would have had a slight advantage. At least it seemed like for the first month because it's a learning curve. In short, I'm on the side of I do whatever you want, use whatever bat is comfortable to you. If you like the new bat, great. If you don't, use the old bat. Like it's completely up to you. It's a preference thing. But it just means that like balls off the end of the bat when you use the torpedo bat, you're not going to hit as well. And so over time, it would have been kind of adapted by teams as they've realized the torpedo bat situation, how much it does help, doesn't help, and then they would adjust with different types of pitches, pitching certain guys away who use the bat. I think what could make it more interesting though is Bobby sent a text to or sent a screenshot of a tweet that Matt Strom gave pertaining to the situation with the torpedo bats, and his was probably the most interesting take I think out of anyone, because I think he's pretty spot on with what he says. Because he says let them use whatever bat they want, but then he brings it back to, but if the hitters get to use new bats and stuff or whatever, let the pitchers use a little extra to help them too. Stop making them the criminals. And I think that's a very good point about how baseball is very protective against what pitchers can and can't do. And you're going to let someone use a slightly different bat for a little advantage. It's in the rules. It's fine. Now, I know this.
I just read the second sentence and not check us like we are criminals every time we walk off the mound.
Right, but there is some merit to it. I understand I can see the immediate argument is that, the stuff the pitchers are requesting is technically not allowed rules-wise, whereas what the hitters are doing is all still within the rules. But I still think it's kind of an interesting argument and something that maybe this could get brought up more.
I feel like what's interesting about baseball more than other sports per se is how scientific the game has gotten with both analytics and the equipment in general of just overall, it to this point, you have guys literally, you can tell them, hey, if you hit the ball here, you have a 98% chance of actually getting a hit versus hitting it here, you have a 98% chance of getting it out. And I find that fascinating. So to me, I think these bats are going to end up being the standard.
I don't think they're going to be the standard, but they're going to stick around. I mean, the Phillies have them at this point. Bohm's used it a couple times, and that's really how this whole thing came out to. It seemed like it'd be a much more of a thing that was focused on the Yankees, and with less than 3 days, it was out to pretty much any team that wanted it, and multiple players were investigating with it, and that's what it is. It went from very quickly, it's a Yankees thing, to get your torpedo bats here, $9.99.
It's funny.
They ain't $9.99. Trust me. Have you seen the price of these things?
It's $9.99 with not in the 99 cents, like 9.
Well, it's just incredible.
How about that?
It's incredible. They literally have to custom make every single bat to the person. Now, what I'm waiting for,
yes,
they were doing that already,
but they were using a template. This is literally custom. Like this is
template.
I mean, I guess, but at the end of the day,
they have the data to make that template real easy. Like I think John's right that this is going to be standard, but not anytime soon. I think there's going to be a generation of ball players that are going to come up, and once they get access to custom bats, they're going to want like, hey, might as well get bats that have more mass, where we generally seem to hit the ball once they actually have that data, once they make it to the majors or
is that going to be the thing now? It's going to be like, look at all these weird custom bats that people have, and someone who gets jammed all the time is going to have all this mass during the at the
I look at it like this,
as long as it's legal.
When you go to like Dick's and you look for a hockey stick, like you go,
why do I have to go
when
to
you
Dick's?
were younger,
John, shut up.
It's the best sporting goods store. So when you go to Dick's, right, and you're looking for like a hockey stick, right? I mean, when you were little, were you not looking for like your favorite player? Like, I'm looking for an Ovechkin stick, and that's like actual like custom made, right? Like the blade curvature is a mimic of what they actually have on their custom made stick. I think there's a lot of opportunity where if Chisholm's bat is going to be a thing for the rest of his career, that whoever's making his bats, I'm assuming it's Victus, but like they can be like, hey, we're selling the Chisholm bat, and they can get a lot more upsell because they're selling his version of the bat.
Hold on, there's that, and then there's what they have now, which is like, oh, we have the Invictus Jackson Holiday model, or the Invictus Manny Machado model.
It's just Invictus.
Yeah, my point is like they have the name brand on there. This is literally what you're talking about, is literally, hey, you can have the exact same bat that Fernando Tatis has for $949.99, and it can be an absolute replica. It ain't gonna work shit for you, but it'll work. It'll look nice on your wall. And then
or it looks good when like you bring it to your little league game because you're 12 years old. You don't even know how you hit the ball.
I'm ready
yet,
for the new
I mean,
Funko.
but technically,
like,
it's not
Torpedo.
supposed to work for you. It's only supposed to work for him.
Right.
What's supposed to work based on where you make contact. It's not.
Did you never play with a kid who's like, I got the $700 bat that my dad just bought me, and he
and then
told,
it
go
snapped
for
on
5
the first pitch.
I've seen that happen too.
I mean, I think it's more of like you're talking about like go to the store, get a hockey stick. I think of it more of like you go to a sporting goods store to get fitted for golf clubs, and
that's what I agree with that.
I agree with
golf
that.
clubs is like
I think both will happen. Like I think like for like higher up kids who are like actually trying to make it to the majors, they'll go do that, right?
Well,
or their dad might do it for it. But for like little leaguers, they might make replicas to go, or even for like adult beer leagues, like they'll just have those types of bats that you can go and buy them and use them in your.
I am waiting for like Dick's or like a batting cage to have as an attachment at the store. Be like, we'll fit you for your baseball bat here.
But no, this is what I want. This is what I want. I want a torpedo bat for Bryce Harper, where the end of the bat is designed like the Fanatic, where the torpedo is the belly, and it's got a Fanatic head on the bat.
Why are you going to do that? Just do the head, and then it's like the tongue getting blown out of the hole.
Oh, that'd be good too. There you go.
Yeah.
Regardless,
look at that, Bryce. I just designed your bat for you. Give me like $20 of the royalties and
$20, you cheap state. Holy shit, dog!
The reason I bring this up though is because kind of going back to Strom's tweet, it's like, all right, so if we're equating what bats can be to golf clubs, where it can be fitted to a personal need of the batter, unfortunately for pitchers, and this is kind of just what we're at. You're right, Will. Like there's been a lot of rules put in place for them to kind of like nerf them in a way. But really, exactly. That's what I was gonna say is that they're kind of at a fault, not at a fault. Like they're kind of at a disadvantage, pitchers, because they want more offense. The league will thrive with more offense, so they're not going to give in to let's get sticky stuff back in the game again. Like no, like they'll allow for this bat customization, whatever, to happen. But as far as pitchers, I mean, they're gonna probably feel a little bit left out, but I think the league is not gonna do anything because it's like, look, if we can generate more offense, that generates more views and that generates more money. So, I think that maybe the torpedo bat, like this style, is like this might be the most it's talked about in terms of like the presence on social media, but I think we're going to increasingly see new bats coming out, and it's just going to become the norm without people really realizing it.
Yes.
And then we're just going to have like I think this is the biggest it's going to get. But like I said, I think over time you're just going to see this, and it's going to be like, oh yeah, like that's what's happening now. And I'm surprised that it has taken this long. I mean, it's literally taken 100 years for baseball to change the bat. Like
baseball's slow on a lot of things.
Here's what's hilarious. Here's what's hilarious though is like, do you think the guy? Because what it was, who was it that was
some MIT guy,
like kind of some MIT guy. You think this is like? Yeah, why haven't they been doing this? Like he's probably been thinking about that for ages. Like he's just like, yeah, why don't you just move the wood down here?
Yeah,
like just move it.
I'm just
take the wood.
Everyone's played with like
barrels.
I mean, everyone's played with a wiffle ball bat that had duct tape at that one spot.
Bobby's bat was, dude.
If
you seen Bobby had an illegal wiffle ball bat.
That's what this. I saw someone reference that online. They're 100% right. That's basically what it is. Is everyone's taking the wiffle ball duct tape method and just moving, making the sweet spot where it fits best for them. But you're not going to see any people sharing bats anymore.
Corked. Yeah, my back corked. I had the tape, and I also had newspaper stuffed all the way at the top. And
all right, listen, motherfuckers. If I have Big Red in my hands, you are screwed.
Dude,
right? I had a junk bat. That was what I used.
Yeah.
Junk bats. Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
I-
We
to-
need to play football.
So, Ty, to go back to what you were saying, Shoeless Joe Jackson 100 years ago swung a bat that was 36 inches long and weighed 38 to 40 ounces. The MLB standard for bats is 33 inches long and no more than 32 ounces. So that should just tell you, you know,
Well, a lot of
how
bats are longer than 33 inches. So.
yeah, I was gonna say it's more like
Almost
I
everyone's is over 33. It's like 35, 36.
Yeah. I mean, I think that again, I'm just surprised that it took a guy on the Yankees staff to be like, "Hey, like let's look at how this," because really, to your point, Will, like baseball really is behind on this because it's like I I guess you could look at it as all right, how much can you really change a bat? But like again, golf has been doing this, hockey's been doing this. Like basically any sport where you're using a stick of some sort, like where you can change like the flex of it or like the angle, this, that, like that's already been done and baseball's kind of stayed standard. So yeah, again, I wouldn't be surprised if this starts to take off. And it kind of goes under the radar and then all of a sudden it's going to be like yeah like you can literally have a team of guys and they all have different bats like and it's specifically tailored to their swing and stuff like that so and there's definitely the technology for it now so I think this is probably going to set off a chain reaction where you're going to have a lot more of that but it was just funny that it took the Yankees absolutely, just killing the Brewers, the media coverage of it to really bring this to light when again, I think this is going to be a bigger thing. But
So if I can say my credibility here. All right, let me say my credibility.
You're not credible. Move on.
Shut up. I just looked up the MLB bat regulations, and it says that an MLB bat must be a smooth, round, one-eye, solid wood stick, no more than 2.61 inches in diameter and 42 inches in length, with no weight restrictions. But players often choose bats in the range of 30 to 35 ounces.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that was the graphic I had up from the Athletic earlier.
Thank you
was
for
that
repeating what he started this entire
that
episode with.
base yeah it had the length is about the same and the diameter is about the same. Literally, it just the top and the bottom they just kind of crunched in the middle a little bit. It seems like they're mainly doing so. Not the Athletic, by the way. Really love that site so much.
I think there was like another discussion to start the year about like because there was a lot of home runs being hit and it's like oh are the balls juiced again
Of course.
which that can be a discussion for another time but
Give
I'm
us
sure
like
they are.
2 more
Yeah.
months and then we'll find out.
yeah I mean yeah look just be happy that we're getting the offense we're getting now I guess because it is it's fun to see home runs.
Let's be real here. What's the most exciting sound of October? It's, somebody calling a major home run in the championship series or something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So
No,
unfortunately,
pumpkin
pitchers,
chunkin'. That's what it is. I want to see some pumpkins on
unfortunately,
catapults.
unfortunately, pitchers, you do not make money. The hitters make money. That's why
No,
Juan
they
Soto,
make money. They just don't make teams or the league money. They
Yeah.
themselves make money.
yeah, they themselves make money.
Chicks dig the long ball.
They
Yeah.
do.
Yes, they do.
Speaking
we
Unless
learned
you're
nothing
of,
from Mark McGuire. Hey, we got Cy Young pitchers over here.
that was a good transition by you as we get into our extension talks. And a starting pitcher that did get a lot of money is Garrett Crochet.
John's favorite pitcher.
This is unbelievable. And I will tell you why it's unbelievable. The man made 32 starts. But what's even more unbelievable is his freaking teammate, Christian Campbell, has played 5 games. No, 6 games for the Red Sox. 6. This is ridiculous. Like, how are you that confident to put money behind these guys?
I'm going to back this up a little bit, just only because I understand what he's saying. It's not new. Like,
No,
this has happened with Corbin Carroll, Julio Rodriguez. I mean, the Phillies tried it in this much, much smaller scale with Scott Kingery. And let's be honest, the Braves have been doing this for a decade. because that's basically how they've kept Albies and Acuna and Riley all around, is because they gave them very team friendly contracts before they would reach free agency. It's just that now teams are doing it when players are starting to crack the big league. So they're trying to break even that, which I guess, yes, I mean, there's no denying it is riskier, but it's not new. And so I think it's just a matter of they're trying to combat the luxury tax this way, and they're very confident in the guys they're going to stick with. But I mean, I wouldn't say anyone is 100%, at least that I can think of off the top of my head, struck out. Now, to say someone has truly lived up completely, that's a different argument. But I don't think any of the players that have gotten these extensive long terms, except for Scott Kingery's crap.
I think this is just another benefit that big market teams have compared to small market teams. Small market teams can't just be like, oh, well, if he doesn't work out, big deal. Big market teams like the Red Sox and Yankees can be like, yeah, we'll sign him for 8 years, $200 million, big deal. What's the issue?
Yeah, but small market teams, some do, and that's kind of how you have to compete, because if you have a guy that you think is going to be a star at some point in time, say like Campbell was on like a small market team, like this would be and it's still a phenomenal deal for the Red Sox, but like it'd be a phenomenal deal for any other team if he works out, because like, wow, we're paying a star player basically pennies compared to the rest of the league. I mean, the Pirates sort of kind of did that in a way with Hayes and Reynolds. Like they
definitely, I would consider Hayes this. I would absolutely consider Hayes like this.
And Hayes, you can definitely say hasn't worked for that contract, but like I think Hayes, I forget exactly how many years it was at the time. I want to say it was like 8 or 9, but he signed like an 8-year deal that was team friendly, like hoping that one day he would be, a top 5 third baseman in the league. And again, that really hasn't worked out, but like at the time it was like, wow, it's a great contract. So it obviously depends on, and you could say this for any contract, how the contract works out, but like that Campbell contract is really good for the Red Sox. And I think the Red Sox in general, talking about the Crochet business as well, John, I think you're right in the sense that Crochet we had questions about him coming into the season that like we can basically reiterate again, but it's like he's made 2 starts. He has looked good in those 2 starts this season, but they tried to lock down who they think is going to be their ace for the next, and
his is riskiest out of everyone, I think, so far.
Yeah,
because this is the first time a reliever converted into a starter is getting this extension, and at least since this isn't a new trend, this conversion situation, but at least from players nowadays, no one's done it long term that I can truly think of. I know pitchers have been successful with it, and Michael King is probably going to be the next one that gets big bucks next offseason when he declines the mutual agreement he has right now with the Padres. But just because Crochet's technically he did not show it last year that he can be effective for a full season, he is still on that bubble, but there's no denying that when he is fully healthy and well rested, that he is absolutely dominant.
I mean, he's getting paid like a top of the line starter, so
also remember, he who shall not be named on the Rays was also given one of these contracts.
Yeah.
I had to double check because I was pretty sure, but I'm like, I want to be.
I'm like, but again,
the Rays did it out of everyone. Everyone can do this.
But I'm actually using that as an example, and I don't want to. I'm not going to say his name. But you all know who it is. But like that
he at the shall time, not be named.
That at the time was
the RA of baseball.
That was that was a great deal, right? Like if you can sign guys that, I mean, he was projected to be like, he was the number 1 prospect and all that. Like if you can sign a guy that has potential where you're saving money on him, so then you can build a team around him, like that's the way to success. So I love this deal.
So here's my question though: what about when we get one that does flop? So you have
Hayes.
Yeah, exactly. I think.
So my point is,
and they'll struck out, but it's
gonna
be
then you're in trouble when you're a small market
Yeah.
team because you have, this money essentially going into a Bobby Bonilla.
If you make a bad decision, then yeah, you screwed up. It happens. I mean,
Big market
if
team
it
or small market team, you make the mistake.
Yeah,
Right.
Like, you're
but
just-
it's
yeah,
part of
yeah.
what happens with baseball.
Yeah.
What is a paper cut for a big market team is like a nuke for a small market team.
Well, I mean, the reason it's more of a
It would
nuke
affect
for a
them
small
this
market team,
year.
less because of budget, I'd say it's just because they chose to put their money in this one guy as they viewed as the face of their future, and they were wrong. But that happens. They didn't have to do it. They just believed in it, and they thought they were better off keeping them. That's just part of the business of baseball. Is sometimes you screw up. Now, right now, I'd say it's been beneficial to a team much more than it's been unbeneficial, but it's not been a clean slate all the way across.
And I think it's
But it's
a
gonna
risk you're willing to
happen.
take, right? Like it's you'd rather take that risk, and I think it depends on the deal too. Like Hayes is getting paid like 8 something a year, which isn't
Right.
like killing the Pirates per se,
No.
but again, you take that risk. I think number one, it works out more than it doesn't, honestly, and number two, again, if it works out, you can then become a contender because you have all this money to spend on other pieces. So,
Mhm.
I mean, by all accounts, and what we've seen already, like Campbell is going to be a really, really good player for the Red Sox. So, like, this deal is superb for them. And then, like, going on, I don't know if you can exactly throw him in the same category, but like Jackson Merrill signs a 9-year extension as well, coming off of his huge year last year. I don't think it's obviously not the same risk as somebody like Campbell because you know what he's capable of at the big league level. But like another great contract, yeah, like another young guy getting a fantastic contract where he's now set for his career. So congratulations,
gents.
Jackson Merrill.
Let's play a game real quick.
Uh-oh.
Who is
Loki.
older? Who is older?
Us.
No, we're not a part of this. Christian Campbell or Jackson Merrill.
Well, you set it
I
up
would
in the way
say
that it would
Merrill's
be.
older.
You set it up in a way that would make me have to say Campbell because I think Merrill's is what 22, 23,
Bobby,
24?
what is your
I
guess?
would have said Campbell's 21, but
Bobby, what is your guess?
What, between who? Campbell and Merrill, you said?
And Merrill, yeah.
I think Campbell's older, right?
I would have said Merrill by like a year or two.
Campbell
I
is
think Campbell had more of a
23.
minor league stint.
All right, so
Campbell
he's
is
older by like a
23.
year.
And played 1 year at Georgia Tech. Jackson Merrill is 22.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so Campbell's a
I would
year
say
older.
Campbell's the minors a little longer, I think.
gentlemen, these guys have no idea of life after 9/11 or before
Oh my!
9/11.
This is a weird thing to bring up there,
Gentlemen,
John.
Gentlemen, these guys were born after the year 2000.
Someone salty
And
that
one.
someone younger than them is getting
Yes!
a lot more money. Okay, there we go.
Then, man, you're
All
on the
about
wrong
the money.
podcast. That's gonna keep happening,
Oh
I
my
know.
God! Yes. Like
brother.
you're
We're all
still young
most of us
enough.
here
Go
are
play football.
football fans
Yeah.
too. We got guys getting drafted at 22 and
I know.
making a lot of money in the bigs.
Go
yeah,
play
Still makes
football
me
for a couple years,
sad.
then you'll be set.
yeah. But like that same question, John. Like is what I always say. Like another guy we'll talk about later for different reasons, but Profar, like he's been around forever, and it's because he
Ugh.
started playing at 18. So like obviously Merrill like broke onto the scene so young.
I
so
will
yeah.
say this about this contract situation. I know it's risky, but I'm thinking back to when like the Phillies extended Ryan Howard to a 5-year, $125 million contract, and the trend at that time felt wrong to me in my like 12-year-old brain because it used to be that players would come up, whatever they hit free agency, but they wouldn't make the big bucks till the back end of their career, and the contracts seemed to be structured more out of the type of career the player had up to that point than what you thought they would necessarily do. And you get a lot of situations, it felt like, of bust contracts where players would sign huge deals in their 30s and then they would get injured or something would happen, and the majority of that contract would be a huge waste. And so the fact that now 10 years later it's flipped the other way where these big contracts seem to be happening now on the younger side and then the older contracts, people stay on free agency
Well,
until spring training's happening. I'm for it.
is that I was
It's an
gonna
interesting
say?
flip.
Is that a result of history though? Because it's like now you're seeing a lot of contracts where guys are signing at 24, 25, 26 to like 9, 10 year deals where it is
I
taking
think
them.
it's a factor.
And yeah, I mean, it's
It's a
taking them
small
into the
piece of the puzzle. I think it's a combination of the past trends. Wanted this keep potential franchise dominant or franchise defining face of franchise players under control for as long as
yeah.
possible, at least during their best years. That's team friendly. And just, yeah, I guess that's mainly it. So, yeah, but
Yeah.
still for it.
Yeah, I
Good
mean,
for you. Waste your money if you're wrong, but if you're right, you made it exciting for your city for a while.
yeah, and I think again, all accounts have shown that Merrill is worth the money at this point. But you just
Marte's the only one of this bunch that's on the older side technically.
right,
But,
which I was gonna.
And that one makes sense to me.
well, that makes sense based
Yeah.
on the trends, but he's also been a little bit injury prone in recent years. Not necessarily big long-term periods out, but like a couple weeks and to a month.
Yeah, and this was. I mean, we'll go to Marte now because I think he was kind of long overdue to finally get his bag. So it's good to see that he's been able to get that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he is a guy who will be. He's 31 right now. He will be 32 by season's end. But he finally gets his extension, which takes him. I think it was a 6 year deal, right?
It's a 6-year extension.
Yeah, so that takes him again to 37, 38, which, um, again, maybe gets dicey near the end, but I think for right now, it's a great contract. He is the piece, really has been the cornerstone of your franchise for the Diamondbacks for a while now. I have always been a Cattell Marte truther, and I'm happy to see him get his bag. That's all. That's all I'll say to that.
All right, this is off topic, but I just looked at Ketel Marte. I just looked at his profile on Baseball Reference, and it has three different designs of Arizona with his number. So that leads me to
Been
believe
around a bit.
No, that leads me to believe that has any team rebranded more than the Diamondbacks?
They have a new jersey look this year. So
I know. That's why I'm like,
it's funny too.
And they get another City Connect, so they got everything.
I've always liked the look of the Diamondback jerseys too, so it is kind of funny that they've rebranded.
I really like this look. This is a clean look.
Yeah, like
I just want the purple back.
It's better than the
always liked
two-tone jerseys that they had when they went to the World Series a couple years ago. They had the no when they went against the Rangers.
Most boring World Series in recent memory.
The two-tone, yeah.
Oh God, those jerseys were terrible.
So let's kind of take this conversation in a little bit of a different direction, just in terms of we're seeing a lot of these signings at the beginning of the baseball season. Does that surprise anybody? Like that we've had all these great
I think for younger guys it makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, these are also spring training deals that bled over slightly into the regular season and things got finished up.
Hold on, that doesn't make sense for Campbell because his spring training, his batting average sucked. It was 167.
I think the Red Sox were very determined that they wanted to have the young guy be the face of their future.
Well, I also say
they were already sold on him before they even got this.
Yeah, I mean,
spring training didn't matter.
I was gonna say he went through the ranks pretty fast. Like he went from double A to triple A to the majors very fast.
I was gonna show his graphic because like he went literally through every single part of the minor league system just last year.
Yeah,
he played in 3 levels just from last year. Those are all the stats from those 3 years.
Yeah.
Or 3 seasons, 3 leagues. Jesus.
Yeah, so I asked that question, and maybe it's a different scenario. Honestly, that probably is the answer. But a guy like Vladdy it's always all
right. That one was actually that's a good thing you mentioned that because that's something I saw recently was whether Vladdy would be the next extension talk, even though his whole thing was he didn't want it to go into the season.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
If someone says,
right?
well, then the reply in the article was, and I'm not totally against that, is the whole Godfather, here's an offer you can't refuse type of thing.
Yeah.
Let's say that Diamondbacks. Yeah, let the Diamondbacks do something. What if the Blue Jays, do the dumb offer and like here's 700 million? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's different from him because he's going into the market after his contract is up. But like, obviously these guys are under team control, a lot of these guys that sign these extensions, but um
Jesus, that's one way to recontrol the market. Sign them young so that way you get them cheap, so that way you don't have to overpay them when their contracts eventually run out after arbitration.
Typical prospect.
Yeah, well,
I'm not going into this, but I'm going so off topic for 1 millisecond. Sorry. I found that post I keep referring to on and off on this thing about last year's revenues that teams made versus what they spent and the difference. I finally found that article and I took a screenshot of the picture so I can reference it. But yes, teams can afford this crap.
Yeah, like
want to.
I guess I'm thinking of Guerrero and like, well, he was like, yeah, I don't want to discuss this in season, and I thought like maybe other players would be like that too, but it just feels like a lot of big names had been signed early in the season, and I was just wondering if that was like kind of curious to you guys. But again, I think it's a little bit of a different situation just because they're not going to be the biggest free agent on the market in next winter, so I think it's a little bit different.
I think for a lot of people saying, like, for a lot of players who need contract extensions, I think them even saying I'm not going to discuss this in season is a bit of a ploy more than it is like an actuality. Like, it's like, oh, I'm not going to talk about the off season, so you better either match the offer that we gave you or do something higher, or else we're gonna have problems in the offseason, especially if they go off in the beginning, right? Like if in the first
you're looking at the message I sent, John.
Yes, I am. I'm looking at how much the Dodgers made.
Yeah, give it 1 second.
This is what I've been referencing this thing for months as we've been talking about the luxury tax and whether there should be a cap and whatnot. I'm also assuming this is mostly true,
apparently.
But please tell me that's not a bad thing.
No, it's good. It's good. Like
it's incredible enough. There's a good site.
But
their revenue.
Yeah, no, this one I grabbed as a screenshot off Facebook, but
the Dodgers spent $549 million in payroll.
It's a little soft, but oh well. Yeah, no, it was the Yeah, no, I mean, I know it's soft for anyone that's looking at this on the phone, but the left column is supposed to be what the team's revenue was from last year, and then the right column is their 2025 payroll plus tax. So, and then the final column in bold is how much of their revenue is spent on their payroll, and that's how these are ranked. Again, they said that nothingness.
Wow.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
All right, so
come to talk with you again.
But yeah, it was just, this was the thing that showed me is in all these arguments we keep seeing about teams spending money, not spending money. This was the thing I always just kept looking at because I was like, or thinking about as everyone can spend money. I don't care what people are saying. I mean, the Mets were at the top of that list because 90% of their revenues goes or went towards payroll. At least it seems like it did, if the revenue number is correct. And that's $400 million of a $444 million revenue. As John's saying about the Dodgers, they spent $549 million on payroll, but
$2 million went to Shohei.
$752 million. So they were still had arguably $200 million that, know.
Guys, I found that $2 million that went to Shohei. It's right there in the 752. Like, that's where it's going.
That's revenue now. But no, I mean, obviously there are other factors between payrolls and other people on staff for the organization, other budgetary things that we don't know. But yeah, I always found this interesting. Like, for example, the Braves that are roughly halfway down on this list, they had $510 million in revenue. They spent $235 million, so they still have over half of that revenue that was not spent.
This makes the Yankees look really cheap.
Yeah, Yankees have only spent half of their revenue, if that's accurate. I mean, the Marlins spent 86 million and they made 317. Like, if you like, every time John has talked about at times the Orioles don't spend enough, I think about this and I'm like, they make a lot more than you realize. The Orioles last year made 366 in revenue supposedly, and their payroll this year with taxes about 180. Arguably, you could spend another 100 million and still be in a really good spot. So,
well, you could also argue that that's also not that is
stop
also
defending your team.
I'm not. Relax, homie. Good
No,
Lord. That you could also argue that that is also going into personnel, and then also like,
and there's the
as
protecting part of it.
that is also going beyond the team, because that's what this is. Now,
Yeah, that's
you
what I
have a
said
team
about the
like
Mets.
so you have a team like the Yankees who are making 728 million but only have 362 million in payroll. It's like, guys, something's missing.
Where's Soto?
Yeah. Hey guys, guess what? You could spend a lot more money. You have like 400 mil. This is
Listen,
almost.
Well, here's another thing too. The Astros were trying to get their payroll under the luxury tax, if this is accurate, or at least when this post was. I don't remember when the initial post came out. It had their, it's probably a little over what the Astros are actually at now, because it had their payroll for this year at 239 million, which I think is over the luxury tax. If not, it's under by like $1 million. But their revenue was 494 million. So yeah, you need to say act is
this list is interesting and infuriating a little bit. First of all, Tampa down there at the bottom, and their team has been pretty successful. Cleveland down there as well. I think it's interesting. Like Cincinnati is kind of up above teams. Well, I guess not. I'm looking at it kind of in a different
How
way.
in the hell are the Cubs?
I got us so
that
off track.
low?
We need to go to Profar.
But you're looking at like the percentage that they actually like to the payroll, because I was gonna say like, oh, Cincinnati made 325 and they're like halfway up, but it's like that's comparable. Like the Pirates made like the same amount as them, and Cleveland just a little bit more. But it is an interesting list, for sure, to kind of bring up. Just like I seen Tampa down there, I was like, damn, bro, like this team, if they even spent a little bit of money.
I will say,
yeah. Now
just
we
real
know
quick,
why they don't spend money, because
They don't need to.
so
They're too
the
good.
screenshot I followed up on Spot Track. So the payroll data from Spot Track, that seems to be accurate. It looks like the revenues were grabbed from Forbes, and they seem to be pretty accurate based on what I'm looking at. So because I know we used the Facebook screenshot, so I just want to make sure I backed it up a little bit. So
Yeah.
these numbers seem to be right.
Ty, it's interesting you bring up Tampa. Just to get off topic really quick, has anybody watched
because we weren't on topic.
any Sacramento or Tampa Bay games so far this year?
I haven't seen it in full. I've seen a couple highlights.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird to look at.
Because the broadcast looks awkward. It looks like a minor league broadcast, the quality
Yeah.
of times.
And the lighting in Tampa Bay looks terrible.
Yeah.
And then also like just overall, I keep wanting to say Oakland. The Athletics, that ballpark, balls are sailing out of there like they're like it's a strip club. So,
Moving on.
Okay. Yeah, let's get into to one of the bigger topics this week, which is Profar getting that 80...
Yeah, who wanted this guy?
Idiots. You guys are sick. You know that? You're sick.
Ty, you want to take the rest of the podcast off, let these Phillies fans just tear them to shreds?
So I have an interesting take on this, which we'll get to in a second.
I'm trying to think what would be interesting.
Well,
what's more interesting than the Phillies benefiting?
I have an interesting take / question, but regardless, the Braves, who are already shitting the bed to start the season, have this blow for their team, where they're gonna miss him for half the season, and if they come back, and I seen a stat, by the way, that like no team
technically more than half
has reached the playoffs after going 0-7.
That is correct. I saw that.
Yeah, so like if they even make the playoffs, he's also not eligible for that. So they thought they got a guy in there because like Acuna is still going to be out. At least they have another good bat in the outfield, and now he's gone. And God, I mean, we'll talk about the Braves as well in this, but they are having a rough start to the season. Ronaldo Lopez is also now
No
injured.
sympathy.
Now injured.
And that's not from me being a Phillies fan. That's from me saying the same bullshit that I've said for the Braves and for the Dodgers whenever they want to sign players that are either injury prone or to convert someone from relieving to starting, is it's the risk that you're going to get injury or something. Like, I'm just, nope.
So honestly, I'll bring this question up now because I don't know how much there really
Profar
is to
sucks though.
talk about in terms of like we can talk about how it affects the Braves, so we'll get to. But this is my kind of like hot take, if you will, on this or hot question. I want to see your answers to. If you're Jurickson Profar, are you kind of okay with how this transpired? And I'll tell you why I'm asking it this way. Because this is a guy for a long time in his career that
For questionable.
that he struggled. He had a lot of expectations on him. He never met them, and he had one outlier year. And in that outlier year, it now comes out that he was on performance enhancing drugs.
Stuff.
He was
But
doing he was
basically
drinking
saying
he was
he
drinking
didn't-
Michael's secret stuff.
no,
No,
so
he was drinking some other person that wasn't Michael's, and that's why it's illegal.
so you know it
He
goes.
was drinking Jose Canseco's secret stuff.
So it goes through, and that's how that happens. But you know, is it a question of like he got paid? So is
So are you
that
insinuating you think he took steroids so he
no?
could get the pay season?
I'm not insinuating that. I'm just almost like if you're Profar, like you almost are not okay with this, but it's like I don't know how I'm trying to word this question. I actually seen this sort of question
I mean,
on
it's 80 days unpaid too, right? So it's not like he's still going to get half of his
yeah,
salary for the season, but I mean,
but it's
he's
just
literally
like
doing nothing. I mean, yeah,
he
he'll come back to a playoff team or caliber team when he's done, but
That he's
like
not allowed to be on.
like he got
if they
his
get in the playoffs, yeah.
he got his contract. This is what I'm saying though. Like
Yeah.
if he doesn't have a big year last year, he doesn't get paid. And I know what you're saying in terms of like
I feel like that's a lot of insinuating.
no, but like so I forget exactly what the question was verbatim. But on talking
Oh, you saw it
baseball,
somewhere.
yeah, so talking baseball, Trevor Plouffe and Jake Storielli were talking about how it was something along those lines. And I had thought about this when I seen this like obviously this news come out about it, and it's like yeah, like it sucks. And of course he's gonna say, "Oh, I deny it. I didn't know about it." But it's like for him, it's like, dude, he already got his contract. Like if this happened to him like last year before he hit the market, yeah, that fucking hurts. You just like killed your career. But like he has his contract now, and it's like even if he's only getting paid for half of this year, he still has 2 more years where he's getting paid money that has like you know set him up for life. Like you know, it's like
Well, let's see if the
it's
Braves got
crazy.
insurance on the contract and if Profar gets hurt when he returns.
I mean, I guess that's true,
Because
but
if
it's
a
just
lot of
like
things go down with the because that's one of the things. Now I'm gonna go back to our favorite player, Anthony Rendon, because that's one of the things about the Angels situation that's still like you screwed yourself, is they didn't get insurance on the contract. So there was absolutely nothing they could do to like get any of that money back, and they could have gotten a good chunk just because of how much he's been hurt. That's the one. It could blow up in Profar's face if I guess there is some type of insurance thing or whatever, and he's out for more stuff once he gets back, and the Braves don't really lose anything. But in the end, yeah, I guess from what you're saying, he had the best year of his career. He got paid, and he's not going to get a sixth of what he could have got. But in the end, he's still going to get about 40 to 45 million when the entire. No, wait. How much was the contract? Was it 50 or was it like 42?
it was 3 years for 42. So he'll
Then he's
get
going to get like 30 million or something
and
out of the
again
contract in the end.
for a guy that
Little more.
has struggled and had his outlier year. And I'm not insinuating that this is what he did, but it's almost like you take it if you're him. Like you like it's a very weird question because like morally, yeah, it's stupid. Like you shouldn't have done it, but you
Yeah,
know,
you buffoon.
like he
Well,
basically
if you read this, he didn't know that somebody
well
slipped
that,
None of
in.
them know.
Somebody
That's
sold
why
it
it's a
to
secret.
you.
No.
That's why it's a secret sauce.
Well, that's not true, Bobby. Jose knew.
Oh, Jose, no.
I'm
And
sorry,
he knows
I'm
everyone
also
else who did it.
I'm also like trying to find this thing I seen earlier to like kind of back it up exactly what they were saying. But it was just an interesting side of it. It's like, yeah, he got paid his money, it's
I have a question, and this might be an ignorant question, but I really gotta know. I don't know, with the amount of money these guys make and the amount of people that they essentially have working for them and the amount of resources that how this continues to even happen. I mean, obviously we have to kind of take him at his word that he didn't know, right?
Yeah, you
Because we don't
think
have any
they'd
proof
be
that
able
he
to
didn't.
afford somebody to pee in
How
a
in the
cup.
world is it
We
like
can appeal it.
like is he going to some dude on the street and just grabbing these things and just like trying to get out? Someone had to have given this to him, and that person didn't know that this was a banned substance. I don't know how this continues to happen. It's baffled me the past few seasons.
I think it's just really, really dumb negligence. I think what it is, and this really felt the case with the Tatis situation, 3 years back or something, when it was kind of ish revealed about how he might have gotten it and how he might not have. And it was like a two-way situation of either one, you could use the resources of your organization, which gets millions and millions and millions of dollars in revenue. You can get practically anything you freaking want from them, and you have an entire coaching staff that give you everything. You can do all of that, or get it from Ted down the block. Like, Ted might give you something by accident that you don't realize, but like, it's riskier. It's there. Like, you're a moron because you took it on purpose, or you're a moron because you didn't use the resources at hand that were right there for you, and you did something that was by accident because someone said, "Here, try this," and you went, "Sure." Now, if it goes through the organization and then this happens, that's a whole other situation. But I feel like that would be really unlikely.
My friendly neighborhood street pharmacist Ted.
Well, let's go with the insinuation would be, if that's true, right? So let's say it's not through the organization; it's from whoever the hell, right? The backdoor sports medicine guy that has the super secret snake oil that they'll give you to make sure you're not injured anymore, type thing, right? Like that would then mean that he's actively seeking that out. Like to me, the only way he truthfully doesn't know, and I'm not saying he did, he probably didn't know, but I feel like the only way he didn't know, or any of these guys don't know if they ever take a banned substance, is if like it's actually coming through their organization or through some approved doctor that the organization also knows that they're seeing.
So,
like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how you seek this out.
I mean, well, the only thing I would say, my guess is he just simply got. I mean, I agree with you. I'm gonna say in the end he didn't do it on purpose, and maybe he did. And
no, I don't think he did.
Foolish to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I mean, like you said, we're never gonna truly know unless he flat out says, "Yeah, I did it. And this is how I got it." But
wait for the
it's hard for me. I mean, this is gonna be kind of a two-parter because I was gonna bring up this question in a second. I feel like what probably happens sometimes when it comes to this is you get something from someone that you're just careless in checking about what it really does, or you don't care. Like, there's a whole lot of, I just feel like if you go through a team as for anything that you need, there should be like a 99.9% chance that everything is fine that you get. And anything you do that does not go through that points, checks, and balances of everything, then you are like, it's completely on your own. When anything happens, you may not realize you take something that you're not supposed to. And if it turns out you test positive for performance enhancing drugs, then that's on you 100%. If something were to go through the organization and you can prove that caused it, then whoever within that tier situation should then just be fired completely. Like that's where it could get more like crazier. But I mean, I feel like when it comes to the performance enhancing situation, it's basically that. Like, if you cannot prove to me that you went through the organization and someone who is a paid on the staff and is like part of whatever the like flow of stuff is in the organization gave you this, and they're the ones that screwed up and now you're punished for it, then if it's not that, everything else is your fault. But the like second part to this that I was going to bring up was, should MLB consider as, and this is going into kind of what we were just saying about the Profar situation with he's still going to get the money. should MLB consider adding on, if not maybe for your first time offense, for a second time offense, but also using the checks and balances thing I said, proving that you didn't go through the proper ways of getting whatever it was that caused it to pass or caused the positive test. Should that immediately void your contract?
Yes, and so sorry, I want to
Depending on
bring
the
that.
amount of failures, right?
Well, that's what I was saying. Is it extreme that it's too extreme to be a
Sorry,
first time offense, and maybe a second because you get the full year suspension if you're a 2-time offender of it?
Yeah.
And then should it also get the because I almost feel like if you're going to use the Profar situation as regardless of whether he did it and it impacted his season last year and got him the contract, like, is that something that you use performance enhancing drugs illegally to boost your thing? In the Profar situation, it's literally the first year of his contract. Tatis's situation, if it wasn't the first year, it was at the very beginning portion of that 13-year contract he signed. Should it just completely void the contract?
Yeah, that's tough.
Everything else is in line. Meaning, if you're Tatis, you're still under team control as you normally would be otherwise between arbitration and whatnot. But a Profar situation, at the end of this season, he would be a free agent.
Okay, so
You would
sorry.
just ban the player.
So
I don't think they should be permanently banned. I mean, not unless they've done it over and over and over again or whatever. But just like completely take it out the window. Now there's doubt in players, and you messed up your career. That's big. Like, regardless of whether you truly are good enough, you did something that went completely against what you're supposed to do, and therefore it's a way of being punished. You can still get big bucks, and maybe you do a 1-year contract, make $5 million instead of 15, do great, and the next year you get a $20-30 million contract. So it's just a little delayed.
So that's a really good question. So I want to bring this back really quick to the original thing because it's going to tie in to my point. The question was basically what I asked, but their question was, would you basically tarnish your name for $36 million like Profar did? Because you take out the half a season, he basically gets $36 million, but he tarnishes his name. And that's where it's like, if you're going to continue to have a problem with PEDs, I think, for this reason alone, because there is a risk reward factor to it where you can get paid. And maybe the argument is exactly what you're saying. Well, it's like, should that contract be void? And I agree. Like, I think so. I guess to answer your question, so like for Profar, I think, like, yes, after this year it should be like voided and whatever. But like for Tatis, like you're saying, like, yeah, it's a 13-year contract. This is not to say that a guy could then test clean and then come back and still do his thing and then get paid around that same amount. That's fine. Like, but you then kind of have to prove it. But guys, I think will continue to, if they can, again, if they can pull this off like he did. If he did this, I am gonna point the finger and say he's guilty in this, that he knew. I really am on that train. Like, if he figured this out, where, like, he got his money because he took that risk reward, somehow didn't get caught, and then got this contract. It's like, that should not, like you're gonna continue to have a problem as the years go on, that guys will be willing to take steroids that are on the cusp of being out of the league, being out of the majors, getting that contract. Like, it's going to continue to happen. I don't think it's going to like happen at a crazy rate per se, where it's like all these guys every season. But I think, yeah, your solution is perfect. I think that there's got to be some renegotiation of the contract. Like, Profar should not get this $36 million. I'm sorry. Like, if he comes out at the end of the season even and he performs well and he's one of their best players, sure, whatever. Like, but you have to now show us, because you haven't throughout your whole career except last year, when you're now targeted for PEDs, that you can play at a high level that garners this contract. So if you can't do that clean, you should not deserve that money. Which is just crazy about the situation.
I wanted to point out that, like, and I'm trying to find a better list for this, but I mean, the baseball, the policy is 80, 162, and then lifetime. And I struggle to see another way to do it like I would almost think like maybe for the third, if you test positive a third time, especially if it's like back to back to back, like over the course of like 3 or 4 seasons, like yeah, get them out of here. But like if like you have like 1 or 2 and then you're clean for like a good amount of time and then you get something else, because I mean, look, they're always going to find new things that are going to get banned. There's probably new things that are added to the list every friggin' year, so it's not going to be anything new. I almost wonder if like that point that has to be like kind of a committee decision where it's like it might just be another season long ban or it might be something else. Like I wonder if they can almost like kind of revert back to like the previous discipline tier, I guess is what
I'm
I'm
almost
trying
on
to
the
say.
opposite side of it though. Is like I almost feel like
Make a
first
statement.
suspension should be
Yeah.
the big part
The
because
whole
like,
season.
dude,
Well,
honestly,
not the whole season. I mean, I don't think they need to be out a full season, but I think if you're going to put money involved, it happens immediately, and
yeah,
that's
like
always the case.
because
Oh yeah.
because like uh, in the grand scheme of things for Profar, it's almost a slap on the wrist because again,
Mhm.
he's still getting $36 million for doing nothing essentially.
Yeah, but
Like
the
He
MLB
could
is not
do
going to care
nothing.
because they're not the ones giving them the money.
true.
I mean,
Like,
yeah, I
like
mean,
that's the
a
thing.
lot
They
of this
don't.
comes down to is what is MLB's true stance on performance enhancing drugs, period. Because I mean, from a
They
Hall
don't
of
want it
Fame
in the
sense,
game.
there's always going to be the argument. And if baseball is really big about wanting more offense, then secretly they're gonna brush a lot of this stuff and be like, it's against the rules. We'll speak out against it. But honestly, secretly, they probably are like, we don't really give a shit. So, like, if
Is
baseball
there
really
like other
cares
examples to be honest? Because you have a
about
In
specifically
other
what,
leagues,
so
tons.
no. Like, Will, you have a better baseball mind than me in terms of history.
uh,
Like of a guy that really has done nothing throughout his career, and in his contract year, like bought out, and then it came out because like
you'd
this is
you'd
the
have to
part
do
for
some talking
me.
and
When
let
did
me do
Barry
some
Bonds
digging
start taking
quickly.
off?
Well,
No,
Barry
like
Bonds is the initial one, but his stuff came out after his contract, so there, or at least in the back end. So
Oh,
therefore,
was
I
it?
shouldn't
Okay.
say after; it was in the back end. So
because
that one
like
is kind of beyond the control in this situation.
yeah,
Um,
like to me
I mean,
this is
Ryan
almost
Braun
like
would be an interesting one. Ryan
yeah.
Braun would be an interesting one because he had his MVP year, and like the next year or something was when that whole situation came out. He wasn't a bad player once he came back, but he was nowhere near as good as he was
Yeah,
for the first couple of years. So that's
Who
the
was it that you
first
mentioned?
person. Ryan
Ryan
Braun
Braun.
Ryan
for the
Braun.
Brewers.
Okay. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
see him in
Um,
his.
I don't know. It's almost like a I want to say like an untapped loophole, and maybe I'm making this bigger than it is because again, maybe it was an accident, but it's just like it, that question that they brought up in talking baseball like really resonated with me because I was like, this is what I've been thinking about. It's like it sucks for the Braves. Like on top of everything else that has
mhm.
been bad for them, they now have a guy that can't play, and then when he comes back, is he going to be what he was last year in San Diego, or is he going to be what he's been throughout his career, which is like a 220s hitter? What did he hit? He had like 24 home runs last year, like not coming near that again. Like it sucks for them because they have to pay this guy after what they thought, oh, this guy figured it out, and now it's like, damn, like no, that was a smoke screen. Like he actually just scammed you out of $36 million. Like I don't know. That's why
So
I'm.
Ryan Braun got his first contract in 2008 for 8 years, and then had a 5-year extension that was signed 2011 and 2013 was his suspension.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but he was again, like Will was saying, he
He
was the
wasn't the
deal of
same
like,
player after the
yeah,
PED
No.
situation. Now
like
he was a good player, but he wasn't a great player.
yeah, like
Yeah, I just wanted to see where his contracts
he
were.
went from MVP um, to again average player. And again, I don't know if I'm putting too much on this, but my
Well,
my my whole point of even bringing this conversation up wasn't really so much about Profar. It was just talking about like how this is kind of like it sucks for the Braves, like
yeah,
ultimately.
I mean, I will admit, out of all the crap I'll give the Braves because I'm a Phillies fan, and I'll the Lopez situation I have less sympathy for because of what I've already stated. The Profar situation is something that's completely out of their hands. They got a guy based on what he did last year, as any team would have, and they thought they had both someone that could help fill the hole for in their lineup until Acuna returns, and now they are just literally with everything else going on, this is adding insult to injury. Like it is really bad. I'm assuming these are Braun's career
Ryan Braun.
numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see. So 2012, he hit 41 home runs. 2013 is probably when he started serving the suspension. After that, he had 2016. He had a good year where he 30 home runs, batted 305. Other than that, I mean, 2015 wasn't bad, 285 hitter, but not the same power than 266 hitter, 268, 250. Like he was not the same. And before that, 324, 285, 320, 304, 332, 319 with 34, 37. Like this dude was a machine.
Yeah.
If you want to go with somebody who fell off the map after like a ridiculous season, you could go with Brady Anderson in 96 hitting 50 home runs and then 97 hitting 18.
I mean,
Era,
so when was he actually, was that a situation though where he was?
It's widely believed, but never
All right,
confirmed.
that's slightly different. All right, so I'd say it's more what we're talking about is, and this is why I think this is a newer thing to really talk about because of how the bot or the Mitchell Bosch, whatever it was, report that was released in late 2000s that had all these people on it. By then, obviously, there were names thrown out because of the steroid era, but like it's not really until the late 2000s that the whole like steroid era players really kind of everything fell apart, and even players at the time, some true, some not, some we'll never know. And so I feel like this whole situation that we're talking about is new because not as many steroid like suspensions have happened because everything's been after the fact.
Yeah.
And so that's why this is a new thing. So I in favor of the Braves. I feel like that Profar's contract should get voided after this season. They want to re-sign him to a 2-year deal at a smaller rate. Go ahead, but because of
2 a.m. knocks on his doors, he's gonna get if he resigns is gonna be something else.
Well,
it's going to be something else, but that's his fault unless he can prove say that I got it through the team and someone within the organization gave it to me.
I don't think the league cares. They care
whether
it's a positive or a negative.
Yeah, I mean they don't. MLB.
I mean, honestly, Lee may not care, but as long as, but I mean, Profar, if he wants to appeal, there should be some way that he can prove. If he says no or he doesn't think he can, then he can waive that. Or
I feel like he would have come out and said he's appealing this.
There's no real way to say 100%, or at least we don't know what the actual like testing came back saying. Like you tested positive with this type HCG, of drug, most like,
which is low T usual medication. It's not the same as the growth hormone that has been rampant, the HGH, but it's similar.
So I mean, they get the report on what it is, and then he has to basically, and then I assume they probably have an implication of how it was at least. No, I don't think he should deny the test. It's more of, all right, if it's saying this is the type of drug that was in your system, this is how it's typically applied, and then whatever. Like, obviously, if it's a situation where he knows he took it, then this is all like under, who cares? He knows he did it at the end. But if it's a situation where, let's say, he didn't do it and he's trying to prove himself, because if MLB doesn't care and he has to defend himself, then what would he need to do is knowing the things about where it could have come from and then trying to then back it up, I guess, as to where then it came from if it potentially came through the organization. But, that's all a whole lot of other stuff to an argument that's probably never going to happen. But
yeah,
it's a lot of if ands. Get rid of the money. Braves, I'm actually sorry for you.
I think your solution works, or not. I think it works in general, but I think it would be implemented if this becomes more of a trend, where you're seeing this. Because, dude, this guy got paid $1 million last year. He got paid $1 million, and then, like, again, because he was so unproven, and then he took off, and it's just, I hope it doesn't become that, because that would really tarnish baseball. I really hope this is a one-off thing, but I do think, again, if this becomes a trend, that has to be the solution of you do not get the contract. Like, it's got to be something, because
I think as long as there's always going to be stuff in baseball. There's always going to be performance enhancing drugs. And because of the current situation of contracts starting in general younger, I feel like you're going to find instances where partway through contracts, players will have No, I'm not going to say that all these young guys. I'm not trying to say that at all. But I think there should be some because the performance enhancing drug situation has truly only been an in-season issue since about the mid to late 2000s to the present, so only about 20 years. There should be something in there that is a safety net from an organization standpoint, where if a player is found guilty, that it does, and they're kind of stuck with them, it's not their fault. That, like, are they supposed to run a drug test for steroids before they sign the guy?
Yeah, really.
Like,
I mean, they got to pass the physical.
Yeah, general physical, but take someone else's pee. But so
Hey, listen, I learned on Blue Mountain State you can do a thing called an oil change, and
all right, we're done with that. No, so but there should be some type of a fallback safety net's not the right word. I'm just blanking on what I want to say, but
while I
something
don't
insurance
disagree
policy
with
in
you,
place.
while I don't disagree with you, here's the thing: is that this would have to go in the next CBA. And Bobby, why'd you pass on that yawn?
Sorry.
This would have to go in the next CBA, and that's a whole nother thing.
It'd be
Like,
something the owners would have to bring up, and because
and the players will love that. Hey, if you
honestly,
test positive for
players
any
shouldn't
sort of
give a
drugs,
shit, because if the players are, because all the players are going to be fine. I don't think anyone's suddenly going to be like, oh no, what packet did I put in my coffee today? Is it going to fail my test? Like, no, they're not going to be that
Wrong
anal about
teabag.
something like
correct,
this.
they shouldn't, but
They're not. They never are.
No, they just don't. They just. I think what John's saying is like they don't like owners bringing up stuff like that at all. Like especially if it's something that like could cut into whatever like.
Tony
regimen they
Clark
had
can
going
suck
on.
it.
Correct.
He's terrible.
if it's anything that can cut into any sort of player revenue, they're gonna go, no, we don't want that. We're going on strike.
Yeah.
That's not going to be the setup for it. It's just, but it would be a bargaining chip. It'd be one of those things that we want this, you get this, boom, that's it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Gotta love it. Gotta love those agreements. We'll end the show on one little thing with the Braves. It's gonna be very quick. Something that we might do a little bit more in the future. But I'm gonna give you guys like 20 seconds to give me an answer. Will, I'll start with you. Are you more surprised that the Dodgers and Padres are 7-0 and 8-0, or that the Braves are 0-7?
Braves are 0-7.
Okay. Any reason?
I don't need 20 seconds.
Okay. What about you, John?
Oh, no, I need to give an explanation to 10.
I'm going to go Dodgers and Padres are undefeated, because I would expect, since they played the Braves, that the Braves would have at least gotten one win out of those series, but nope.
Yeah, the Braves were a team we all had in the wild card, right?
We had them in the wild card, but we had them being freaking competitive.
Yeah.
I had him second. That's the big difference.
It's gonna be a long road, like I said. That's that.
You didn't ask Bobby.
Well, Bobby, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
He's in the fourth box now. You have to include.
That's true. If he wants to be included more, you gotta let the man speak.
What is more surprising to you, the Dodgers and Padres or the Braves?
The Braves, but what I am gonna say is like, as much as I'm gonna laugh at them now, there's gonna be a point where I'm not gonna be laughing at them later, because it's the Braves. It's what happens. I'm not.
September's gonna roll around.
Yes, I'm shocked by it, but they did have. Listen, you're playing the Dodgers, and I'm sorry, the Dodgers are still leaps and bounds better than the Braves. So of course that was gonna be a tough one for them to get there.
Especially now.
But yeah, they should have at least gotten one or two out of the games that they've played so far. They haven't done so. I know this Profar thing is just a nice little cherry on top. So I'm going to laugh at them for now, even though it is surprising and it's surprisingly funny. So I'm going to keep laughing until they make me not laugh again once they get on top of us.
My
Phillies are going to go wire to wire. I'm calling it now.
Yep.
No, my final thing is back to what we said earlier in the episode about no team has gone 0-7 and made it to the playoffs. Well, this is only the third time. This is the third time, fourth season that we've had this new wild card situation. So all those stats don't mean anything under all these wild card teams.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I hope you guys have been enjoying the first week of baseball. It has been good to get the game back.
5-1, baby.
Yeah, 5-1. I've already given up on the Pirates. I'm not getting into them, and the Orioles.
Competitive. Last place.
I was gonna say competitive AL East, man.
They're being competitive.
just like everybody thought, the Blue Jays and Rays. I mean, again, we're 7
Yeah,
games in.
everybody
The Blue
picked that,
Jays
and
and
we're a
Ra-
week
If the
in.
Orioles get last,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be mad at myself for not sticking to my
I
original.
hope
bold
everyone who was
prediction.
watching today was paying attention to the ticker because it's so funny in the early season whenever we get back into the swing of things like we're at the standings currently last, especially with the Braves being in last place in the NL East. Like the Marlins, I think, are
Or
in
everyone
12th, third.
tied practically in the
Yeah,
AL
Marlins-
Central.
Marlins are in second, which helps again when you
Yeah.
play the Pirates for 4 games. But yeah, that is
Hey,
all.
just letting you guys know it's way too early.
It is. I just
Yeah, I can pass that baton off to. Damn it, you both took it.
Yeah.
dude, it is funny. I think I'm gonna be that guy this year. I made fun of you for last year, but I think I'm gonna be that guy this year.
All-Star break. Just play good baseball or what you want to play. All-Star break on. That second half really proved to be something last year. So
Yeah.
Yep.
That is all for us here at Big League Breakdowns. You can follow us on Twitter at BL_breakdowns. Big League Breakdowns everywhere else. Make sure to like the video if you'd like to subscribe to the channel for more, as we will continue to cover all the storylines happening this MLB season. But thank you for watching. We will see you next time.
Wear your seatbelt.
no.